This is James from Drone Deer Services, and in this video, I believe we're going to have the best content that I've put together thus far. I put the drone up right after sunrise. Within 15 seconds, I had 3 and 4 as I got closer. Thermal signatures coming from the area that we've referred to as the controlled burn area. And this is what I believed before I got a little closer to these animals. 2 mature does and 2 yearlings. So I tried something different where I was in wide mode, but in editing I zoomed in, and I don't know if folks will like that or not, but it just kind of gives you an idea on how well these animals are camouflaged or how well they blend in. I've said that from the beginning, from 350 feet up, that it's difficult to see them without the IR. So this morning was about 45 degrees, a little bit of a breeze, like I said, right after sunrise, and I wanted to fly the mission in the area I've been monitoring for the last month or so. And the reason is I think there's some behavior that's going on that may indicate that the does will begin having their fawns, and I wanted to see if I could share that, share that with you. I think that would be pretty neat. And in this video, it's going to be a long one, but we're going to see an animal that I don't believe I've got captured on film yet, but that's kind of just an extra feature. I try my best to speed up between the action areas, but I think you'll enjoy the footage as we get further down the road here. So as I fly down the river, I'm looking for wildlife with the IR camera and looking for white hot spots, which are thermal signatures off of things that have retained heat. Because this is the morning and because it rained the previous night, the ground cooled off some items that may have given me a false heat signature no longer exists. So I saw the 4 deer right at the beginning, and I saw this one deer kind of in a secretive, I'll say, area, and right against the river. And it was kind of hard to see and get in position to figure out what this particular animal was. And the important thing is I didn't want to disturb the animal at all. I could go down to 50 feet and 50 feet from the animal, 50 feet in altitude and 50 feet from the animal, and disturb that animal is not what I wanted to do. So I stay up at 350 feet and process these individually. I believe this is a whitetail buck. It is by itself. It could be a doe by itself, but I believe this is a whitetail buck. It's a pretty large animal, as you can see here. Underneath the canopy, the leaves are definitely on their way here in northwestern Ohio, and also the antlers. So another couple weeks or so, I'll be able to get more antler identification. But this particular animal is all by itself, and usually that tells us that it's either a doe that drove off its yearling or a buck that's browsing here all by himself. But it's kind of the same story. In IR, it's very easy to see this animal in zoom mode or wide. You can't see it at all. In zoom mode, you have to You have to use the camera and understand how the crosshairs on the cameras can be used to locate going from IR to zoom. The new pilot with the drone deer services has learned that pretty quickly. It's not hard. Wind makes it more difficult, but it's certainly a skill that you need to do this type of work, and it will help us out as we get into towards the hunting season. And here's that strange animal left side. New animal. It's a raccoon. I tried my best to kind of do some editing through Zoom, but that's a raccoon there on that tree trunk, and now he's looking up. It's pretty cool. I didn't think raccoons heard very well, but he seemed to have maybe picked up the drone. But that's a nice raccoon there. First one with the Mavic, and you can see a little thermal image even on him. So I continued on my journey. Not a lot of interest in, watching a raccoon that I could barely see. I will, I'm a wildlife photographer, and looking at a raccoon where I can see more of them will be something that I wouldn't, skip in the future. It's just today. It was just too difficult to see that guy. So as I travel along, here we have a kind of the edge of the river, the edge of a kind of a CRP field, and that's Conservation Reserve program, and a deer feeding along the side. You'll see today that for whatever reason, the deer are eating leaves off of a particular tree or shrub. It seems like it's one of those softwoods, maybe a basswood. Not 100% certain. However, I'll do some research and maybe update some of my findings in kind of a collection video. I keep wanting to get back and following up on, some of the vegetation that was in northwest Michigan, some of the vegetation that's here. What are the deer eating in spring? It's not super important. I don't believe if you just look at this as a hunter, but certainly if you're managing a herd and want to attract deer to your property, then a spring food source is just as important as a fall food source. You have to go beyond. I believe you have to go beyond, thinking about just taking a deer. You have to support the herd for during the year. I neglected to add Jeff Sturgis to my hashtags. He is Whitetail Habitat Solutions. I've learned a lot from Jeff. Center Pin Rick bothers me and says, I'm not a big fan of the guy, but I've learned a lot from Jeff, so I am a fan. Just like, the hunting beast, the hunting public, traditional bow hunting, Jason. I just can't remember his YouTube channel, so I don't put it at like a hashtag, but that guy can teach you a lot about, climbing gear. He gets up and down the tree pretty well. He also does that traditional archery. Folks can learn a lot from him. He's got some good content. So I've learned a lot about from Jason. He moved from Michigan, not far from where this we hunt in the Manistee National Forest. He moved down to Georgia, and now he's a big hog hunter. But that's cool. So continue to fly, continue to look for deer. IR mode. Where are the deer? I mean, I was a little bit wondering where they were. A couple of days prior, they were in kind of like individual family groups, and I thought that might have been a potential for the fawn deliveries happening. And what I found today was kind of crazy. You're going to see a lot of deer in a very short time, a lot of deer in the same frame without any editing at all. I would manage to get some deer that I'll let you count them. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm flying around here looking for what my audience has learned, the white thermal signatures. Kind of a nice morning. Just a little bit about the Mavic 3T. I'm heading back right now to and I'll come back to it, but I'm heading back to the launch site. I couldn't find where the deer were, and lo and behold, they were back up probably 100 yards west of me, not very far from the launch site, and I thought that was a false thermal signature there. So I kind of explored even further north, and I did a little panning around, and I came across thermal signatures in this field, and they were very close to the road, and this is a pretty busy road. It's the road that the cars were on when I first started the video. They might be 100 yards from the road and 120 yards from me, and just kind of grazing out in this field. So I found 3 more deer. So I think we're up to 5 now, 5 deer. And these were kind of browsing along, but I think they were moving off the field because of the proximity to the road and because of the time of day. There started to be a lot of traffic. So here's a couple deer just working their way across this field. Farmers have been working a lot in the fields that, they might have sprayed Roundup on fields, and the deer aren't going to be in those fields, I don't believe. But just a lot of activity in northwest Ohio in the spring. So I'm kind of panning along, looking for deer. Where are the deer? I was amazed. I didn't know if a pack of coyotes ran them off, but I needed to find them. So I continued to fly, watching, for the thermal signatures. Not really any. I wasn't finding too much more. Like I said, I was up to 5 deer so far, and panning around. This is a classic. This is that classic extreme oxbow. Nothing there, and I just where are the deer? And I was getting a little bit concerned. I was going to have to maybe branch out. I go into the last parcel or section of parcel that I typically fly, and just like on a previous mission, maybe 5 or 6 missions ago, the field lit up with white thermal signatures. So here we have a lot of deer. I tried to kind of give you, because I have good light for filming now. The sun's been up probably for a half hour, and I wanted to kind of give you a glimpse of what you see in zoom if you're looking at a CRP field. So here's a deer right in the center. We'll call that number 6. We confirm it with IR. It seems to be a little bit distance from other deer. It might be an immature buck, but I don't think so. As you can see, a deer comes a little bit closer, and we kind of have a good collection out in this field. So some of the things we've already learned: these deer are going to predominantly be on trails. There's a great food, just a collection of food here that is to their liking, and we're just going to observe, the deer. So 5, 6, 7. If I use IR 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, total count so far, um, and just, kind of processing them, figuring out what they're going to do. Here's another wide shot that I zoomed in on editing. You can see that shrubbery bending down there. And this is going to be pretty interesting here. This is what I believe to be a young deer on its back legs reaching up to eat whatever leaves these are in this tree. And I think it's basswood. If you can help me out with that, that would be great. I'm really interested in knowing, what got this deer so engaged to, you know, take the extra effort and go on its back legs and get higher up in the tree, reach higher in the tree. Plenty of leaves down lower, so maybe they're looking for buds, or the upper leaves are sweeter or something. Not sure. So now I'm in a hot spot. I'm in a guaranteed center pin rick designated hot spot. Deer all over the place, deer laying on the ground, deer walking. It was a great morning for a flight as far as observing deer. Zoom in on this young guy chewing on the leaves here. Zoom back out and went to IR looking for more deer as I pan around. I'm processing them individually. Here's a deer that's kind of over on the edge where it looks like maybe some type of vehicle went through. Again, every one of these deer perfectly fine. No disturbance with the Mavic 3T. Like I said, it was 350 feet up. We're getting pretty good at it, but something we've learned, if you minimize your right and left movement with the drone, you make less noise. If you use the yaw feature and zoom in and out, like I just did the yaw, I spun around with the yaw, and that makes less noise. If you physically move the drone right or left using pitch and roll, then the drone will make more noise. And I was kind of not paying attention to my battery, and I was running out of battery. So I had to do a quick return to home as I do this. There's a video out at Drone Deer Recovery, great content, inspirational what those guys have done. But they're stuck on that matrice, and I don't see the need. I'm not going to fly in a rainstorm or a snowstorm. But the hot swappable batteries, I don't get it. What you're going to see here is I'm running out of battery, a 45-minute battery. I'm going to land this drone. I'm going to swap the batteries, and I'm going to get back up in the air in probably less than a minute. And all the data is stored. The flight path and maps are stored in the RC Pro controller, and I'm back. I just swapped a battery. Okay, I cut a little bit out when it was on the ground, but it was 2 minutes. Brand new battery in, 45 more minutes of flight time if I choose to fly that long. But I'm gonna get right back to that group of deer because I wanted to, further process them and get an understanding of what actually is going on and why they were in that one location. I gotta believe the majority were in the one location. I gotta believe that it has a lot to do with the food source. Also, because it's kind of protected by it, what I'll say, half of it's protected by the river and half of it's protected by a dead channel. The deer, I believe, feel pretty comfortable in there. So that's something to think about. Here is some thermal signatures down by the dead channel, processing them, looking at these deer. So we're probably up to 17 deer now 17 different deer that we've seen so far on this trip. A great mission. Here I'm poking through this kind of like canopy and trying to figure out what these deer are here, because there's more than one. I make the assumption that it's not a buck, but it very well could be. We have the group of five bucks that travel around together in this area on in an earlier video, and I apologize. There's a deer coming through there. That's how much of a glimpse you get in the zoom mode when you can see them very clearly in the IR mode. But I'm getting a little bit of nasal congestion from the allergens that are in the area, the pollens. But here's a deer moving through here, and again splashing through water. So splash, splash, splash. That was pretty cool. I think that's the first deer I have moving through water that clearly. It would have been nice to hear that and be there. Here I am at the back of that area where there were a lot of deer from overhead. I'm getting more sunlight now, so it's easier to film the deer. The thing you have to watch out with the Mavic 3T, in the IR mode, if you point it towards the sun, then the shutter will close. You'll get an indication and a warning. There's no damage to the camera, but it protects itself and closes the shutter. Here's another deer grazing along. Pretty cool, pretty big animal, relative to the deer that we see in this grouping. But if I look here, I just stood back and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 deer in that particular shot. I wanted to get this animal in the camera. It's walking right down the trail, and we talk a lot about deer movement on trails, which is kind of confirmed by the video we get out of the Mavic 3T, and just wanted to kind of give you so now we have multiple deer in the same shot, one laying down kind of in the center, one standing up in the lower right, and between them is one looks like it's feeding, or two that are feeding. We'll get a little bit closer shot here. This to me is a doe chewing her cud, laying in a very comfortable bed. It looks like a well-worn bed, and then just below her it appears to be smaller deer. I'll make the guess and say they are yearlings. Sometimes I get chastised, not hate mail. I just, how do I know they're yearlings? I don't know. They're just smaller. I assume they're yearlings, and they're going to town. Or the red-winged blackbird just flew through. Another bird we have on film, another animal, in this case a bird, a red-winged blackbird. But here's two smaller deer just going to town in that same kind of tree with those leaves that we saw the other deer rearing up earlier. So I was kind of figuring out what the deer were doing. This is a completely new deer I just took a shot of, but not to kind of like double count or just kind of figure out what I had here for deer. There's one in the center, just above center again. Looks like a mature deer laying down. I don't know if that means anything at all to do with, or has anything to do at all with fawning and pregnancy and delivery, imminent delivery. Have no idea, but this is kind of why I'm monitoring. Don't know if does prefer to have fawns at night or during the day, or they don't control that. But here's another deer laying in the shade now. Those trees that they've been feeding on, and we're trying to get in here as good as I can. And another deer in a very well-worn bed. And Dan Infalt does a lot of work on, explaining deer beds. I've learned a lot from him, finding hair in the deer bed. And then the hunting public guys are all over the deer bed and kind of evaluation, and they get that information out to us. Another doe laying down. She looks very healthy, very large. So I'm not sure if that means she's close. It's going to be interesting to see how this group changes. I believe, delivery of the fawns is going to be close. This is a very healthy deer here. I'm not, it's right on that trail like I've, kind of talked a lot about before. But there's just a lot of deer in a very small area. This is less than 160 acres. Here's another deer kind of back in those small trees, feeding along. That was pretty cool and kind of confirms that they're focusing on a lot of focus on a one particular food source at this time of the day. Center Pin Rick tells me, deer get moisture from, leaves and dew. I believe it, and that might be why they're hammering these leaves, pretty big leaves. But this particular group is very close to a natural water source. So what I did here is I wanted to back up and kind of give you an idea how many deer are actually in this area. If you count them real quick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 over here. And that was counting fast. I might have missed some. Here's a deer. I keep saying it, but they kind of stick to the trails. And it was just a lot of deer in a very. There's maybe another one, 15, straight down there. Processing deer with a Mavic 3T. I constantly talk about the IR mode. It is what finds the deer. I probably could find some deer flying lower, using a lot more battery, but the IR makes it not easy, but easier, let's say. This deer's got some nice sun on it, pretty nice looking animal, all by his or herself. There were some others off to the right. I just don't know what's going on with the behavior. Here I did a wide shot, and then in editing I zoomed to see if you can see all those deer. And it seems like I can see a couple of them, but not all that I can see here in this IR mode. It's not even close. Let me know if you like it when I do that, or it's just a waste of time. Another deer laying in a deer bed, just enjoying the morning. And here's where it's going to get a little bit interesting. So here we have two deer in the same frame. I generally stay, unless I'm trying to figure out antlers, zoom range from like 14 to 18. It just the way I explain it to Center Pin Rick is that you kind of have if you're 350 feet up and you have the same zoom, then you kind of have an idea how big the deer are. Now there are 4 deer in this shot. The one on the right is kind of in the trees eating, but we have 3 does just laying in well-worn beds. There's doe number 1, there's doe number 2 and 3, and they're just relaxing. Deer number 5 comes in from the left. Remember, there's already one standing over there in the trees on the right. Deer number 6 comes in from the left. So we have 6 deer in the same frame. I zoomed in on these two. Watch this. knocks the branch down, chews on it, and then he's going to let go of it and whack his brother in the head. Watch, boom, hits his brother in the head. So there's at least 6 deer here. There's that one that's kind of hidden in the shrubs back there. But a lot of deer in a very small area right here. And that was pretty cool. And that's why, I'm thinking this is one of my better videos as far as capturing deer. Here comes 2 more. So that makes it 8 in this small area. And it was a good morning. I'm going to fly as well tomorrow if the weather conditions are right. If I had the Matrice, I wouldn't fly in a rainstorm if it's raining tomorrow morning. But if it's not raining, I'm going to put the 3T, which we call the flicker now. I'm going to put the flicker up and check on the herd, see if we had any fawns overnight. But I'll get you that footage if we run into anything. I just wanted to keep. It was just neat to see all these deer concentrated in a very small area. They're not standing at a feeder or a bait pile. They are just concentrated in an area. And I'm going to zoom in on this doe again. She's on that well-worn bed, kind of had that long grass against her back. The wind is coming across over her back, and she's looking off in that direction. And you can notice these other 2 doe are the same way. They had their backs to the wind. As I, continue to process, I'm looking for deer. I'm going to show you some examples of deer that are in those taller kind of trees. You can see this deer kind of right of center. I'm going to get a shot of him or her. I believe it's a doe, just relaxing. I mean, again, a well-worn bed. I don't know if these are fawning beds or not. The deer will have the fawn, clean the fawn. The fawn has very little scent. The mature doe will get away from the fawn after delivery, and so they don't attract predators. And I just, I kind of want to see that. Here's a shot of like how sunny it's getting. I'm in IR mode here. Lo and behold, another couple of deer have moved down to this particular area here, and we can see them very easily. It looks like now they've moved to maybe the shade, and they're relaxing. So I think it's a total of, I think I have 8. It looks like mature doe laying down in this particular morning, and that's pretty fun. Flying. That's what I kind of wanted to say. It was a good morning to fly. You take the opportunity. One of the things I say is, take the opportunity, get in the woods. If you enjoy the outdoors, get in the woods when you can. And I'm kind of hovering above. Here's a deer on its feet. It seemed to me like the younger deer were walking, the older deer were laying down or bedded. Comfortable, and that was kind of the story of this particular morning. But you just saw another kind of shot of deer, multiple deer in the same frame, and that's kind of when I'm referring to this as, I believe it's my best content yet. As we get into the hunting season, we might have content where we're assisting hunters finding their deer after a shot or a hit, and to bring that animal out ethically and as quickly and humanely as possible. Here's that original group that I kind of ran into when I first took off. And they've kind of spread out a little bit more. The sun's nice and up, and they're just right here, and they're enjoying a great morning. They've moved to that mineral lick area that we've seen in previous videos. If you haven't seen my videos, all of them, just go to Drone Deer Services. I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. You'll get an indication if you turn on that bell thing that when I post a new video. But if you go there, I have a number of videos now, some from Michigan, some from Ohio, some from Illinois, Wisconsin. But most of it's upper Midwest. And, send me an email, ask me a question. Kind of the sun's taking over here, and we're going to go ahead and kind of head back to the launch site, kind of give you a rundown of the entire area, how it changed from when we first started this morning. Kind of backing up and going to look at this area one more time before we head back to the launch site. But go ahead and send us an email, and we'll do our best to answer it. If you have questions about the drone or about use of the drone to find the deer, what buttons I push, because it was all a learning event for me. But here's kind of a last look at that very highly concentrated deer area on this particular morning in early May in northwestern Ohio. Now the secret's going to be to figure out how I'm going to hunt this area, if I choose to. I might make myself available to the hunters for deer recovery if something needs to be done there. But that's what we're doing. You want a hunting area evaluated. You want a herd evaluated. You kind of want to know what's there and what's not there. We learned a lot up in the Manistee National Forest where the deer were not. We flew a lot more missions than I'm ever going to publish, but we didn't see any deer. On the missions we didn't see any deer. I'm not going to publish those, but we figured out that the deer were where the early spring food sources were, and if there wasn't food, they were not there. And that's kind of important to think about in the spring as well as the fall. So here I am kind of slowly heading back to the launch zone. Again, reach out to us. We'll help you out. Please consider liking and subscribing. If this video was way too long and you didn't get anything out of it, let me know that too. If the videos in general need to be shorter, longer, me talking less, and I'm losing my voice, I think, might have a lot to do with the pollen. But let us know, and we can certainly adjust. Appreciate any feedback that you can give us. We'll help out in making decisions about drones or whitetail deer hunting or whatever you want to do, wildlife photography with a drone. Hanging out in the upper Midwest, we certainly can help. Have a number of the folks retire to have plenty of time to maybe provide assistance to new hunters. If you're afraid or have a lot of questions and want to get into hunting, we most certainly can help. We have gun hunters, crossbow hunters, vertical bow hunters, a lot of experience, and like I said, we're willing to help you out. This was a pretty cool landing. The sun was coming down that trail, but thank you very much, and thanks for putting up with a longer video. The Boomer Outdoorsman, over and out.